Hello, my name is Brant Hunt. Discerning what is true. I'm going to check something here. Phil, do you hear me? Can you hear me? Phil Langdon? Hey, Phil,
Yeah,
you hear me?
yeah.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, thank God for that. Blimey. This thing. Oh my gosh.
Uh, well, it's just everybody changes everything. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Uh,
yeah, yeah.
I let me see. I've got a few questions. So anyway, sorry about this, guys. This is a live stream now. I'm interviewing Phil Langdon. He is one who has gone through the ascension or has been what I call eliminated in a way approximately 9 years ago. Is what I understand in 2014. And what I want him to do is I've got him on live now. I want to ask him some questions and let me see if I've got him here. We've had some technical difficulties here, and I kind of had some issues trying to find stuff. So, or working with modern technology. So, what I wanted to do, Phil, was to ask you some questions. How do you get to the stage of where you're at spiritually? That is, you mentioned that you went to Angkor Wat, and what I guess basically explain what happened in your life to get you to that phase.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Am I coming
Yes,
through?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. Um, I think the best thing to say about that is that in my youth, um, I'm quite a serious person anyway. I mean, maybe it's just my way. But in my youth, I felt as though everybody was wasting their time. Now, I don't know why I felt like that, but I just looked around and thought, when I established what people were doing with themselves, and I looked at their parents, and I thought, well, where's life going? You know, where does life go for these people? Where does life go in the first place? I started extrapolating all the time and thinking, well, we become old and we die, and I thought, well, that just seems pointless. If the
Right.
number of people that told me years ago that there is no point to life, I thought, no, I'm sorry, I think you're wrong. I think there's just fundamentally wrong. You know, there's a predisposition in England to be realistic, but to stop short of going far enough to see what reality really is. When they say be realistic, what they mean is be physical. Recognize what is physical around you is the only reality. And I thought, well, I'm sure there's something more because I feel like there's something more. So I simply started looking. When I was like 7 or 8 years old, my mother encouraged me to look in various places. I was studying the paranormal at 8. You know,
Wow.
yeah, I've got a picture of me reading a book about realistic paranormal events in the world, and I was fascinated. I thought there was a lot more to reality than is presented on general television and media or in church because I'm a born Catholic,
Right.
basically. I was born a Roman Catholic, and I went to church for many years until I realized that the ceremony they're using there is akin to a magical ceremony. It's a very similar thing. And I don't like the idea of ritual personally, because I think reality should be right here at our fingertips. You know, you shouldn't have to go through some rigmarole or wear special clothes or anything like that. So in my youth, I decided, what shall I do with my life? Because everyone thinks in their teens, what do you want to do with your life?
Right.
So I thought long and hard about it, and I thought, I don't value anything on earth. I don't. I
Wow.
just don't value anything that people value. I seem to have naturally completely different set of values. And I thought, well, the only thing I want to do with my life is find out what the truth is, because that's a starting point. If I realized nobody knew anything, I
Right.
couldn't understand. I couldn't understand why adults didn't know anything. They don't even know why they exist. And I thought, well, what is the point of your existence then? I don't understand why you don't want to know that. That's the only thing I want to know. So as I went around for years and years, I discovered that no one gives a damn. I thought, well, I do. I give a damn because it's my
Right.
life in my hands.
Right.
It's in my hands, my life, not yours. And
Right.
all these people are failing. I thought they're all failing themselves because they just give up. I thought, well, that's no use. That's no use to anyone. Never give up. You should never give up. If you want to know something, never give up. You'll find out. You will. The idea you can't find these things out is utter nonsense. And the only reason people think like that is because nobody bothers looking. And when they do, when the rare occasion you find someone who does and they find something out, nobody believes them.
Right. Because they're not famous and well known and not on television.
It's not just that, it's the content of what is beyond the norm.
Ah,
It's
right.
very difficult to believe in that if you don't personally experience it. And I realized there were people in the world who were saying, hang on a minute, there is something special about your life. And I thought, yeah, I agree. I think there is something special about life. There is a purpose to it. So I'm going to find out what that is. And the way I went about that was I thought, well, I need to understand physical reality first and use that as a foundation to launch and go higher.
What do you mean by physical reality?
I thought the best thing for me to do would be to study physics and mathematics.
Okay.
At the time. So I wanted to do that in my teens, but there was a lot of distraction in my teens, and I became a musician instead.
Okay.
Long story, but it was basically a long distraction, and I ended up going back to college and university in my early 20s after about 6 years of working and seeing what that was like. So I went back to university and I studied maths and physics. And in my first year, I realized that my projected idea or goal that I want to understand the truth at the deepest level is actually possible. I realized in my first year at university, I could do that. If I set my mind to it and just kept going, I could do that. Don't forget, there was nobody to draw from. Nobody
There's no
around.
one there to take your hand, so to speak.
Nobody. You're standing alone when you do this. You're on your own, and you're basically working on the idea of faith. Faith to me.
Faith in yourself.
Yeah, faith in yourself. But really, the idea of faith is that you can achieve something.
Right.
When you step on a boat on the shore of one country, you know damn well that boat is able to take you to the other country across the
Right.
ocean. So you have faith in the boat that it will do what it's supposed to do. In the same sense, I had faith in myself that if you can learn anything, what's to stop you? There is nothing to stop you. You can learn anything you want. And I thought, well, that means I can find out the truth if I can learn anything I want. There are no restrictions. So that's what I did. I studied maths and physics. I studied psychology at the same time, applied everything to myself and the world around me, slowly developing a sense of reality. At the same time, though, you see, I'd already studied the paranormal and touched on lots of different subjects. And one of them was Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. My dad was interested in Greek mythology as well. So there was a lot of Greek mythology around in my youth as well. And I was comparing all these things at the same time, wondering where did these myths come from? They seem to resonate with us. The people who wrote them must know what they're talking about. And we have science and we have religion in the modern world, and they don't mix at all. And if you're looking for the truth, it must be singular. Because the truth has to be singular. It can't be two things because there's competition.
Well, that's duality.
There's duality. It's not truth. Singular
That's right.
nature is truth. Singular.
It's like this type of thing, type of deal.
Yeah. So
I believe this, I don't believe this. I believe this, I don't believe. That type of thing.
Yeah.
Type of thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I wanted reality to prove itself to me. If you push something, you'll find out how heavy it is and what kind of mass it has. So you must interact with physical reality to understand it. So you must have a life in order to gain this understanding. You can't be a spirit forever. You won't learn anything. There's no change in spiritual nature. Physical nature is all change. It's always change. And we use that in order to change our spiritual position. I didn't know this at the time. But my studies took me into religion as well. And I started analyzing the content of religion. And some of the religions seemed to know what they were talking about. And I thought that's very interesting because scientists seem to know what they're talking about as well, and these two people don't agree. So
Right.
if I'm going to find the truth, it might take 50 years. I don't care. That's the only thing I'm interested in, because it's a great starting point. And then you know what you're doing. So I thought, well, if the truth is singular, it must stand above religion and science. There must be some unification between those two. And that's what I was looking for. So Christianity is a fascinating religion, and it is full of the Son of God. But if you go to science, they never talk about the Son of God. They don't even recognize what that is. They haven't got a clue what that is. It doesn't even come into science. So what is this issue of the Son of God, I thought, and God? Who is God? What is that all about, really? If you challenge these things, you do discover what they are. And I just carried on studying as much as I could, comparing over the years. Obviously, life, was there as well. I had to work, had to earn money, had to live, blah, blah, blah. You have relationships. I never got married. I could have done, but I just didn't. I didn't want to. I didn't find anyone I thought I should marry. And I'm 53 now, and I'm still not married.
Right.
So I thought, well, where else can I go with these studies? And I kept looking for new stuff that would broaden my horizons and help me focus at the same time on the right issues. And I ended up pursuing various people. I found various people. One of them was Arthur Young, who was a logician, and he was a fascinating, intelligent individual who discovered that there's a self-referential nature to physical reality. And I found that very interesting because it correlates with Kabbalah exactly. Arthur Young corresponded precisely with Kabbalah, precisely. And that was my first lead and clue that these people actually know what they're dealing with. They know what they're talking about. And it led me straight to a guy called Walter Russell. And I encountered him a year after I went to Angkor Wat. So I was 43 by this point. Hadn't got anywhere with this stuff. I knew all this stuff, but I thought, well, this is useless unless it produces some result, some effect.
Right.
Knowledge in your brain is just rattling around. It means nothing unless you actually use it for something.
Let me ask you a quick question. Did Arthur Young have any idea that it connected with Kabbalah?
Yeah. He doesn't talk about it though. I think I've never heard him mention it. He probably recognized that, but he stuck with his own subject and didn't bother talking about Kabbalah, because as soon as you mention it, you're going to have to divulge it, and that's a huge subject.
That's a whole problem.
That's a real problem. But Arthur Young, you simply use logic, and I thought, well, that must be right. The truth must be logical.
Correct.
So you must be able to go backwards to the truth, to the singular point of truth, using only logic.
Right.
That's what I was doing. And I eventually came across Walter Russell and his book, A New Concept of the Universe. And the emphasis in this work that he produced was that there is a massive distinction between what is spiritual and what is physical. They are literally opposites. And because they're opposites, they have a relationship that's automatic. They go together. You can't have one without the other.
So
sorry.
So you're mentioning here the religion and science. Would you see them as the two, for example, for the two pillars, so to speak?
Yeah. You have to be able to understand and account for the contents of religion if you're going to find out truth. You must, because it comes from truth, all that material. The contents of the Bible is nothing but the truth, but it is simply misunderstood in today's world. That's all. There's nothing wrong with it. It's all perfect. And science is almost perfect, almost. So combining these two, you see, was a fantastic foundation, I thought. Comparing the two is a fantastic thought experiment. It really challenges a lot of ideas. The misconceptions in religion, I've recently discovered, are due to semantics. People misunderstand semantics and they think it means this and that. So their mind is over there when in fact it should be over there, because it's actually talking about that. See, so discovering what things really mean is part of this discovery. You can't take the word of other people because they don't necessarily know what they're talking about. They might do, but you can't guarantee that. And with the truth,
to go back to the original source.
Yeah, you must discover the truth for yourself. You can't rely on somebody else telling you about it. It's a good guide and a good advice to hear somebody else, but you must discover it for yourself. Otherwise, you won't know it. You can only know by experiencing. See, and you can only experience the truth yourself. Listening to somebody else is not an experience of the truth, if you see what I mean.
Right.
So I thought, right, I have to experience this myself, and I didn't know what to do. So I was now 44, and I'd read this book by Walter Russell about five times, and literally ate it. I ate it, gobbled it up. It was so interesting, and all that was floating around in my head, and I didn't realize that I was right in front of the pinnacle itself, because what he did there was put me in the place one step before ascension. And you get to that one step before ascension when you recognize and realize, yes, there is spiritual and there is physical. If you think there is only physical, you are fooling yourself. You don't understand the distinction between observation and what is observed. That there's a relationship there, a direct relationship. We are observers, and we need a physical body in order to observe what is manifest. We can't observe it otherwise, because we are not physical. I didn't know that at the time, but I discovered it through Walter Russell. But then you must prove it to yourself, and eventually I did. So I simply booked a holiday with my girlfriend, and we went to Thailand. I wanted to show her Thailand because I used to work there years ago. And we tacked on a quick 3 days to Cambodia, because her mother had been to Angkor Wat a month before on holiday. And she said, you must go to this place. It's absolutely amazing. I knew about it anyway, but I didn't realize it was so powerful. When I went there, as soon as I got there, within about 3 minutes, I was in the company of God. It's just unbelievable. It's totally unbelievable. It was totally unexpected as well. I didn't expect anything at all. I didn't even expect to get anywhere with this knowledge, the thing that I was doing for so long. Right. I didn't think it would arrive at anything, because there's no one to say, look, this is where it goes. You see?
Right. I would say you were simply what I would call a trailblazer. You actually going out in the woods, so to speak, and you had to make your own trail to get to a particular place, and that was truth in itself. So what happened simply, you had to cut down limbs and this and falsehoods and this and that, what others said, is all that's discard that, hold on to this, but discard this here. That's what you had to do.
That's right.
And there was no one, as you were saying, because as far as I know, I don't know anyone that has ascended or has enlightened themselves except you, as far as I know, in today's world. It doesn't mean there's not people out there. It just means simply is, that type of thinking is simply is not. Some people may have already ascended in some ways, but maybe they don't know what to do. Maybe that's another case, or they don't have what I call modern communication, so they can't communicate by the internet, whatever. I don't. Anyway, the point simply is that so Walter Russell had a very large impact upon you, although others had also in your life.
That's right. Yeah. The main people.
I'm not saying that Walter Russell was enlightened either. I'm just saying simply he had a part, what we call. Let's just say this is like a pie. And it seems as though you got from certain people like Walter Russell, Arthur Young, there were a piece of the pie that began to actually come together.
That's right.
And you also was reading, I'm sure, scripture, and you were saying, okay, this doesn't make sense, such and such. What are you talking about? Jericho, and they went around the circle, they went around the city so many times, and they blew their horns. What is that all about? It's like, does this take place in reality? No, it doesn't. We don't go out. I mean, this is who is Noah? Who's Moses? Who are these people, so to speak, that we are told about, revered by in religion, so to speak? So what I'm trying to say simply is you seem to take a lot. You had a pie. You didn't know that. But obviously, God and his spirit was working in you in a way to bring you essentially because you had a deep desire to know the truth. And you had a thirst for truth. And when you got something and drank it, oh, okay, I see this. but I got to continue on. So I'm thirsting more. So I'm not going to quit here. You see.
That's right. That's right. The funny thing is, when you make that decision at any point in your life, you can do it anytime you like. When you actually say to yourself, I need to know this, I want to know this, that changes everything by itself. Just that decision, just that focus on the overall goal in life. And I say
You're
that.
actually, yeah, you're actually you're I don't know if the lack of a better word, but manifest, but you're stating to the universe that this is what's important in your life.
Mm,
Okay. And I'm going to put my hand to the plow, so to speak, and
mm.
pursue it with all energy I have.
Yeah, but the intensity of some of this information, for instance, when you read Kabbalah, it's so rich and intense. You can only do it in periods and short periods and bursts.
Yeah,
So
I was doing what I meant was a generalization, saying simply that there's a uh, there's in scripture that says a man, basically does a hand to the plow, and what I'm referring to simply is that the focus, there's a focus
yeah,
upon seeking things what is true. You see,
that's right. That's right. It's a mindset. It's an attitude. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right,
When you're with friends, you don't employ that attitude. Of course, you just relax and enjoy yourself. But when
right.
you're studying, if you're looking out in the world and you study things, we're talking about before the internet as well. So there was a real restriction on information at the time. But when you're looking at to study things, you take in a portion over the 2 or 3 days, and then you digest it, and then you have a rest, you break, you just carry on with normal life. People think, you see, that you have to go in, it's overly intense on that. You don't. I never did. I've never become a monk or shaved my head or done anything like that. There's no need.
Right.
People do that. I think people do that. I don't know whether they've lost touch with the original intention of doing that, becoming a monk. Maybe they just like that lifestyle. They don't like being stressed out by modern life. Okay, fine. But if some people become a monk in order to become one with God, and they don't make it.
No, they
You see,
don't.
they don't make it. And I think, well, what were you doing? What exactly were you doing? Studying the Bible is not good enough. It's not
No.
good enough. If you don't understand what you're reading, what are you doing? You're reading something, you're misunderstanding it, and you're not reading anything else. Well, what is that?
Yeah,
What
they're
is that?
hoping for inspiration through the Holy Spirit, so to speak, because
That's not going
that's
to
what they've been told to do. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
No.
You can plead all you like. It's your attitude that determines the Holy Spirit coming to you.
Right.
And you might think, well, they have the right attitude. Well, no, they don't. Studying the Bible is not the right attitude. It's not.
Well, we have many people who study we have many people in theological seminaries that study the
Yeah,
Bible, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
One of the problems is, I would say, they come in with a presupposition of what they think it means.
Yep.
So they're not
Yep.
open-minded. They're actually closed-minded. So they're trying
Yep.
to make it. They're trying to make a square fit in a round hole,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
doesn't work. So
Yeah.
that's what that's an argument I say with many Christians, is that they presuppose that such and such is what this means. Well, you've already set up the agenda of what you're going to believe. So
That's
you're not
right.
open-minded at all about any of this. You're just
That's
going
right.
in here and saying, I'm just going to try to make sure, saying, thinking that you're being holy, but in reality, you already stumble, so to speak.
That's right. That's right. There's nothing holy about fooling yourself.
No, no.
Nothing. It's a total waste of time. Most people do not understand the contents of the Bible. They can't. It's not possible. They don't even know what it's talking about.
No.
They have nothing to relate to it, you see. So it's just fanciful stories that they have to believe in or something. And
So
it
that's what
just
they've
means
been, yeah, that's
nothing.
what they've been taught, right? Yes, that they have to believe these stories, like I said about Jericho and
Yeah.
Noah, and 40, the whole earth was flooded, such and such.
But,
Well,
and I would say I would never give the Bible to anyone to read, ever. Unless I explain to them, look, this is what's really going on in this set of books here. It's all allegorical. When it talks about 12 apostles, it's really talking about your brain. And when it
Right.
talks about the Son of God, it's actually talking about heaven, because the Son of God is heaven itself. People don't know that. They think the Son of God is a person from heaven. No, the Son of God is heaven itself. They'll never tell you that. Why can't they know that? Why don't they know that?
Because they've
What?
I went to seminary, and so basically they tell you certain things what their particular denomination believes, and so,
Mm,
but they are not looking again. They're looking for a job. That's just being straightforward with you, to make money. So they feel like they're doing something spiritual by
mm,
studying the scriptures at a seminary.
mm.
But those particular professors don't know any more than what the student knows because they've gone to seminary themselves and they're just spitting out the same thing they were told 20
Yeah,
years before. You see.
yeah, that's right. That's
It's a
exactly
sad
right.
situation. It really is.
Yeah,
And I don't claim to have what you have. So that's the reason why, I'm still looking outside, so to speak. I have never had the ascension moment, such and such. But I
mm,
do know simply is that, when I went to seminary, I saw things that didn't add up for me. But I was
mm,
looking at it in a different way than even you were. So I was fortunate to realize I need to leave here. This is
mm,
not what I want to do. If
mm,
I'm not going to teach this if I don't know it's true. I'm
mm.
not going to get a paycheck for this because that's that's not. I would be telling lies to my own students and I would deceive them. So
Yeah,
why would I want to do that? I'm already deceived myself, so to speak.
mm,
Why would I want to
mm,
deceive others? Now, that doesn't
yeah,
mean I'm better than anybody. That's no.
sure.
It's just simply as I have books here still. It talks about church history, but the point simply is, how do we even know that's true? You see,
Mm,
that's written by theologians and history professors such and such, da da da, and we don't even know sometimes that those things are true. You see.
mm.
So, but anyway,
That's
carry on.
right.
Sorry.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know where to carry on to actually at the moment.
Oh,
It was a,
actually going to tell us about your Anchor Watt deal, and I
oh, I
interrupted.
beg your pardon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you were there,
okay. So yeah, at Angkor Wat,
and
I
that's
entered
in
this.
Cambodia. That's in
Yeah,
Cambodia.
it's in Cambodia. It's the biggest religious building or temple in the world, Angkor Wat.
Okay,
Just in case anyone thought it was trivial, it's not. It's one of the most important sites on planet Earth. I didn't know that.
I
But
didn't
when I
either.
went, when I went there, I walked into this temple. It's got surrounding walls. There's three surrounding walls at shorter and shorter distances. Right in the middle, you've got the main temple. As soon as I entered that main temple, I felt different. There's an atmosphere in there that you can't pin down. You can't put your finger on. I was trying to figure out what it was, and as I was doing that, for some reason, I was convinced that there was a 5 foot high statue of a monk meditating in front of me, and it was following me. It wouldn't leave me alone, and it just kept getting stronger and stronger over the course of the next 2 or 3 minutes, to the point where when I was inside the temple, sitting on a what you might call a bench made out of stone,
Right,
this statue was 5 feet in front of me. It wasn't physically there. It was in my
right.
mind, but and I thought it was I was just inventing it. It was just some nonsense about being there or something. I didn't take it seriously. But as I sat there and stared at it, there was a white light on its forehead that was about 3 centimeters wide, and it was very bright. This white light, and there were radiating rings coming off it. And I was thinking, what is going on? I mean, what is it? Why am I seeing that? I don't know why you're in front of me. I don't know what's going on here. So I stared at it and I was trying to figure it out. And I looked into the light on its forehead and I was trying to figure out what the nature of that light was as I was looking at it. And it was perfectly still. I found it very bizarre. So I was entranced by the fact that this pure white light was perfectly still. And as I'm becoming entranced by it, I forgot everything else. All I could think about was this light and its nature of being still. And I pulled away from it and I thought, my God, I've been looking at this light for half an hour. What have I been doing? I was completely disorientated all of a sudden. And it had actually been about 7 or 8 seconds, no more. But I felt like half an hour had just disappeared. And that I should get up and I should carry on because I can't just sit here all day. And as I got up, I felt, my God, I feel completely different. I don't know why I feel like this. And I started to analyze this sort of change in mentality or consciousness. And I realized I'm standing in the middle of a garden. I can't see the garden with my physical eyes, but I know damn well I'm standing in a garden. And in this garden, there is a person associated with this garden, and it's just one person, and they seem to be spread out everywhere, all at once. I thought, well, I need this person to become focused so I can interact with them. Maybe I don't know who this is. Who is this person? I'm thinking. Who are you? I'm asking myself. I didn't say it out loud. I was just asking myself in my mind, who is this person? This is fascinating. There's a person in, I don't know who they are. Who are you? And I'm looking around, and we walked outside by this point, and we stood still because she was looking at some Cambodian dancers who were doing a traditional dance in the grounds just outside this temple. And while she was standing there watching that, I was looking up into the sky, and I was trying to fix myself on this person who seemed to be spread out all over the place. And I thought there must be some focus to this person somewhere that I can interact with. And I'm looking up into the sky, and my mind is spread out. I can feel him. He's everywhere all at once. And I'm saying, who are you? Who are you? I'm looking up into the sky. And all of a sudden, he focuses on the point in the sky where I'm looking. And it becomes an actual person that I can relate to now. There was nothing to see. Nothing. If you'd looked up in the sky, you wouldn't see anything. You think, I'm just making this up. All right, but this person was real. I could feel that their presence very strongly. And now they're focused right where I'm looking, and he's looking directly at me. And I knew that he was looking at me directly, and he knew that I knew he was looking at me. So we made this connection, this mental connection, that we knew of each other directly. And as soon as we made that connection, he went whoosh, and he's standing right next to me now, just shot out of the sky, and he's standing right next to me in less than a split second. He's right here. And now my attention is to my left, because he's standing to my left, just 2 feet away from me. And I said to him, are you God? He didn't say anything. There was no answer. He was looking at me, and he had a smile. I knew he had a smile on his face. I knew it. Couldn't see anything, nothing to see, but I could feel his nature. I could sense it, intuit his nature directly. And instead of saying anything, he simply walked into my body, just walked into me without hesitating. And then he proved himself, you see, instead of saying, yes, I'm God, that doesn't mean anything. What he's doing is, I'll show you that I am God. I'll prove it to you. So he walks into my body, and he proved it. No two ways about it. This is God. This is God. I immediately started elevating into the sky, not physically. It was as if I was being pulled up into the sky, literally. It took about 5 seconds to go to the equivalent of the upper atmosphere, and I had no body weight left to me whatsoever. I was losing my body weight as this occurred. In 5 seconds, I had no body weight. I'm still standing there, but my appreciation of my body has vanished. It's completely, and it's just a thing that's there, and it has nothing to do with me anymore. Nothing whatsoever. I am not my physical body. I realize I'm nothing to do with that. This is what I am. I'm like this person. We are spirit. This is our true nature. And I realized that in that moment. And you fall in love. When you meet God, you cannot help but fall in love. And it's the deepest love that you can ever imagine. I just cannot describe it. It's never ending. It just never ends. It goes on forever. It's just utterly, utterly overwhelming. And you have nothing to say. You are absolutely speechless. I didn't know what to say. When God walked into my body, we had a very short conversation, in fact. And the very first thing you feel is though you're being hugged. You're being embraced. And it's a wonderful embrace. It's, oh my God, thank God I found you. It's that kind of embrace. It's not just all right, mate, you're right. No. This is a deeply loving embrace. And as he was embracing me, the love coming from God was full of gratitude. And I didn't understand why. I was shocked by that. I was completely dumbfounded. And I was basically standing there aghast that God of the universe is hugging me, Mr. Nobody from nowhere, and he's showing me gratitude. And my attitude was, I don't understand why you're showing me this gratitude. I don't feel like I've done anything to deserve that. And I was basically saying, why are you showing me gratitude? And his exact words were, for being honest with myself. with myself because I questioned everything.
So
That
you
was
so,
appreciated.
so what you're saying simply when you asked and you got the answer being simply is that you being honest.
Yeah, because you're honest.
Self.
You're truly honest. I want to be with you. I want to know you. That's what he was saying.
So in other words, he saw your heart, your
Yeah,
desire
yeah,
within you that you desired the truth more than
yeah,
anything else
yeah.
in life. In fact, it
That's
was
right.
more important than life to you
That's right.
because you
That's
had
right.
already set out an agenda in your early life
Yeah,
to search this out no matter what.
yeah. That's right. And I stuck to it. Yeah, I stuck to it
God
through
was
thick and
gracious
thin.
enough. Yeah, God was gracious enough to reveal himself to you,
Yeah.
saying, basically, I'm, being honest. And you're probably saying to yourself, what do you mean by being honest? And so,
I
um,
knew. I knew what he meant. I knew he meant being honest with myself. There's nothing to do with being honest with other people. What you say to other people means
yeah,
nothing.
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, because we
That
think
doesn't
about
matter.
being honest with other people, that's what
Yeah.
pops in my mind. So, yes.
It's your relationship with yourself that counts. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what counts. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I realized that in that moment, and he said something else. I don't want to talk about what he said next because it's way too much. But what he said at the end was, "Do you want to come home?" And I didn't know what he meant. I didn't understand. He didn't explain. I didn't. I just. I was like, "Oh, what do you mean? Do you mean I have to drop dead and carry on in heaven with you now? That's fine for me, but not for everybody else. I'm afraid. I'm here with my girlfriend. I'm not. She's not going to take my body back to England. I'm sorry. That's just morbid. You
Right.
know. I think he found that quite amusing. That I totally misunderstood that. I totally
I would have
misunderstood
thought
what he
the same
meant.
thing. Yeah. Well, if I drop
Yeah.
dead, where am I going to be buried at, so to speak? And she
It,
wouldn't
it,
know
it,
nowhere. What would she do? She's just my girlfriend. She doesn't know
yeah.
me. I
And
mean,
what
she
about my
knows me, but
parents?
she doesn't know me deeply, like my parents or, yeah,
Yeah.
or your sister or
So
brother.
I said, no, 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 I'm going to carry on living my life. He didn't say anything. It was like he was amused and he was like, yeah, whatever. You don't understand what I'm saying to you. No, I
Right.
don't. We don't understand ascension. It's impossible to understand ascension. I had no idea he was referring to ascension that was about to occur 5 days later. I didn't know. But that's why he didn't say anything because there was nothing to explain because it was going to happen anyway. See?
You're going to go get it no matter what.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
I guess that simply God Himself is revealing to you simply is maybe I'm putting too much on you. Maybe you wait till you get back to home and then you can kind of take it all in.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It was a minimal conversation, really minimal, that no more than what was essential, you know. And when I came home, I was just absolutely blissed out. I couldn't stop being in a state of bliss. In this bliss, you can just sit and do nothing. Just sit and just enjoy the bliss. You know, there's nothing to do. So I did, and while I was doing that, because actually something else that happened just after Angkor Wat, because there are 76 temples in the complex, I think, in Cambodia. It's a massive city of temples, and a lot of them are where the old kings of that city were buried. So
Correct.
they'd build themselves a temple during life, and then to be buried in it when they die. So there's lots of them, and the second temple we went to was called Bayon. And when I went to Bayonne, I'd already met God. I was in a state of bliss, and we were walking around in Bayonne. And Bayonne is the one with all the faces. It's very
Correct.
famous. As soon as you see it, you'll recognize it. It's got weird temple sort of tops. They're actually shaped like the pineal gland. Every top of a column is a pineal gland, basically. And Bayonne is a temple devoted to the pineal gland. I didn't know that. I found
So
out afterwards.
there were four of them. Is that correct?
I think there are 52 columns to this temple. There's only one
No, no.
floor.
Yeah. No, what I meant was simply to the pineal gland, what you call you said there are four. I get what I'm calling about what I would call the spires or whatever other
Ah,
columns. Is
the
that four of them?
faces, yeah, the
Right.
columns are square, and there are
Right.
four faces on the column, four massive. They're about 6 foot high. It's a face that's 6 foot high, and it's right in front of you on the first level of this temple. So when you
Okay.
go up onto the first floor, that's all there. You can't go any higher. All the faces are right in front of you on this layer, and you can't avoid being stared at by them. See, and I was looking at that thinking, why have they built all these faces? What's the point of that? I know about the 4 faces of Brahman, that's a religious concept, but I was thinking just the immediacy of a human being standing in this temple that is designed for human beings. It's for our benefit this temple exists. So there must be something about it that's very direct and simple. And I was saying, I was in a state of bliss, don't forget. And I'm looking at this face. It's 6 foot high, about 10 feet in front of me. And I'm thinking, why are there so many faces here? And all of a sudden it occurred to me, well, when you want to talk to somebody, you go and speak to them face to face.
Right.
And I thought, well, right. Does that mean this temple is trying to tell me something? And as I'm thinking that, there was a sensation right in the center of my head. And it felt like 2 tiny little surfaces about this wide, literally 2 surfaces rubbing together like that. And I felt them rub together as if there was a physical action inside my head. Never felt anything like it before in my life. And it didn't worry me. I just thought, what was that? What was that? So now my attention is turned to inside my head. And I'm still looking ahead of me at this face while I'm doing that. And as I did that, about 2 feet in front of my point of view, this black oil came out of this tiny little point about 2 feet in front of me. This black bubble of oil started expanding out of this bubble in midair. And I was just standing there watching it. I couldn't believe my eyes. And it grew to a certain size and then stopped coming out of this point. It was now a free-floating, wobbling. It was black and shiny, pure black. And it instantly burst. And inside it was this word written in 3-dimensional letters in pure white, in proper English. And the first word was you, Y-O-U. I thought, oh my God, that's a word. And as I saw that word and it started to fade, another black bubble of oil came out at the same point and did the same thing. But now the word is different. The second word was R, A-R-E. You are. Now I know that a sentence is going to be constructed, because that sounded like a proper sentence. And it ended up saying 12 words. And it said, you are mind. Mind is stillness. Stillness is timeless. Timeless is eternal. Therefore, what it was telling me was that mind, or awareness, or the observer, you and me, the true nature of us, is eternal. See? So I thought, my God, you're telling me I'm an eternal being like everybody else then. We're all eternal beings. So this is a new sort of concept, because I didn't understand much about this sort of thing. I didn't feel as though I was confident enough to go into this sort of subject. But now I'm kind of being kicked into that ballpark, and I have to discover this subject. So when I came home the following day, I spent 4 days, 3 to 4 days, sitting in this precise chair, sitting right where I am now. And I was just sitting here all day, didn't move. I barely even ate anything. And I was just sitting here thinking, contemplating. What does that mean? What does that mean? I'm stillness, timeless, and eternal. What does this mean? Everything physical is transient. Right. Everything physical is the exact opposite of those qualities. So I quickly realized, well, time and timelessness are exact opposites, aren't they? And transience and eternity are exact opposites. They all have their opposite characteristic, and the opposite characteristics of stillness, timeless, and eternal are all physical characteristics. So now I'm reaffirming what Walter Russell has written about the nature of spiritual and what's the nature of physical. Physical is transient; it has certain characteristics, and the spiritual nature is the exact opposite. So now I thought, well, how do they fit together? If the truth is a unified whole, they must come from the same source, the same truth. So I need to fit these together and figure out how they work together. Does physical nature come from spiritual nature? Does spiritual nature come from physical nature? Do they produce each other? What is going on there exactly? So I went through various thought experiments. And the third day of my thought experiments at 9:30 in the evening, I produced a thought experiment that actually worked, and it was simple enough to get my head round, and it was it had enough depth in it for me to grasp how these two things fit together and what the truth is behind them. And the truth behind them turned out to simply be God. That was the answer.
Answer.
God. And I had an image of a man, like an enlightened man holding a stick with a great big cloak on because I had spiritual ideas and physical ideas in my mind's eye. And I realized that the physical ideas came from what was spiritual, and what was spiritual is nothing but God. There is only God.
Right.
This was the answer. When I read, the instant I got there is only God, the instant I got that, I shot out of my body. There was an event first, I must say, because the thought experiment was going on in my mind, and I had an image in my mind that walked out of itself. It just walked by itself, and all of a sudden, I feel like I'm in the inside, bizarrely, of a football stadium-sized eggshell, and I'm inside it, and I'm just sort of floating inside this eggshell. That's exactly what it looked like. It was beige and white, this sort of surface around me. and as soon as that surface became apparent to me, a scroll came out of a point right in front of my face and shot in two directions at once. Immediately went doosh, shot out of this point, and the scroll went left and to the right, and a phenomenal speed. Phenomenal speed. It was so fast I couldn't see what was written on it. It was just a blur. Looking at it, thinking, "What am I looking at now? What is that?" It looks exactly like a scroll. Where's it going? Because it went to the left. I thought, where's it going? So I'm turned to the left now in this scenario. I can see the vanishing point it's going into. I can see where it's going. It's like an infinite distance away. And as I'm looking at it, I thought, my God, it's gone to an infinite distance. It's going to infinity. And all of a sudden, I thought, oh, hang on, something's going to change. Something's about to happen. I don't know what it is. I thought, wait a minute, because I want to see what's on this scroll. So I brought my gaze back up to the scroll, and it's still there. It's still right in front of me, still rushing away and pouring out at this point. And I'm looking at the left-hand side, and I thought, if I follow it and try and catch its speed, I might get a snapshot of what's on the surface, because it looks quite interesting. And as I tried that, all I got was a blur of white and a blur of gold. So it's white and gold. The top half was white, the bottom half was gold. And it was white and gold along the extent that I looked at, like that. And the white and gold froze in place. The scroll kept going, but the white and gold was just frozen there. And as I'm looking at it, I thought something's about to happen. And all of a sudden, it felt like a shutter went down behind my eyes and switched them off. You literally go blind instantly, and everything is black. It's just pitch black. And you go, whoosh, you fly up, vertically up out of your body, seemingly into outer space, what you think is outer space. In fact, what has occurred is that you have taken off at your natural speed, which is light speed. And at light speed, there is nothing. Nothing. Light speed removes the entire universe, because all lengths contract to zero at light speed. So no matter what the size of the universe is, it will collapse to zero for you. And you are at the equivalent of its birthing condition, which is zero. This is what is at the other side of light speed, it turns out. The birth of the universe is on the other side of light speed. That's something I learned. It was absolutely fascinating. Knowing that has helped me reconstruct this event since, so I can write it down and say, this is what's going on in this event. It took a long time to be able to do that. Anyway, so when you rush up at light speed in this pitch black void, you suddenly stop. It's as if you suddenly stop without any jolt. It's as if motion has simply ceased, and you are now floating, seemingly, in a infinite pitch black void of nothing. It's completely empty. It's so vacuous. You can feel the vacuity of it. You can actually, it's as if you are it, if you see what I mean. You are the abyss. This is what they call the abyss in the ancient past. It's infinite pitch black void with nothing there. And apparently, it turns out this is your natural state. This is your fundamental nature. When you turn around, it turns out there's a massive white cloud right behind you, with laser-like beams of light coming out of it at certain positions on the cloud surface. And the cloud has a very specific shape. It's very circular and amorphous at the back, and it comes forward towards you. It looks very similar to the head of a lion. It's very much like that. Very big at the back, and as it comes forward, it tapers, and at the front of this cloud is a square. It's perfectly square. So the back is circular and the front is square. And as it comes toward the square, it becomes more and more squared off as it does so. So you get these definitive surfaces on the cloud from which the beams are projecting outwards. And the length of these beams is about 10 times the length of the cloud. So they go out quite a distance, and they're very, very long, and they're perfectly straight. I've never seen anything so straight in all my life. I was looking at it. That is absolutely perfectly straight. It's perfect. So now that you turn around and seen this cloud, it turns out you were at the end. There are two beams that come out the front of that square face. They come out towards you. They're fixed in place. They're like arms with hands on the end. And they look like that at the end. There's a very fat central portion. It's a column coming towards you. All of a sudden, it smears out and curls up. And there are two other smears. It's like the end of a neuron. It looks just like the end of a neuron. And that is right in front of you, right in front of you. You've got no body. There's nothing physical about this scenario whatsoever. The only physical nature of this cloud is its shape and its form that it gets from physical nature because it's birthed from your pineal gland. And what had occurred there is that the Holy Spirit as God being inside your body, literally living inside your body from the moment you met God, is now expanding from the center of your head. And by doing that, because it comes out the pineal gland, there are crystals in the pineal gland that register this expansion. It seems that we can surmise from hindsight. And that's what creates the nature and the shape and form of this cloud. And when you do leave your body, you have no physical size. You have no body. You don't have any size whatsoever. Size is meaningless in this condition. See, and you don't realize that until afterwards as well. But once you turn around and see the cloud and you say, "My God, what is that?" All of a sudden, you start moving around it. I moved about halfway towards it instantly. And you must realize this abyss is what you might call a counter space. So every particular point in that space is exactly the same place. It's very unusual to think like that. Therefore, all I have to do is think. It's also the mental plane. It doubles as the mental plane, this abyss. So it's your most natural environment. So if you think, I want to see this about the cloud, all of a sudden you're there looking
So
at
you
it.
didn't ask or anything. You just thought of it and it appeared.
Yeah, I was talking to myself. I saw it. I thought, my God, what is that? The instant I said that, I suddenly found myself halfway towards it, closer to it. And now I realize I can move relative to this cloud. So I want to see the front. I want to see close up. Why does it look like a cloud? Why am I looking at a cloud? I don't understand. All of a sudden, I'm right in front of it. And the surface of the cloud is like 10 feet in front of me. And I'm staring at it. Why is this a cloud? What am I doing? What is this place? I was trying to figure out what was going on at the time. And you eventually move around everywhere around this cloud and have close-up looks at this. I went right close up to one of the beams. It was about 15 feet wide when I was about 10 feet away from it. But when you come away from the cloud, it's a very thin, hair-like beam coming out of this cloud. And the cloud really takes over the appearance of the object in total. It's the cloud nature that gets you, not the beams. They're almost trivial, these beams. Okay. And you're absolutely fascinated by why am I looking at a cloud? What is that doing in this infinite void? It doesn't make sense to me. So I moved around it a lot. I actually realized that in the abyss, what you think of, you produce. So as I came away from it after about 10 minutes of moving around it and looking at it close up, I thought, I still don't know why it's a cloud. I'm at a distance from it now again. So I'm looking at it, I thought, right, I really want to know why that's a cloud. It looks like a cloud. And as I was thinking that, this lens, a lens literally appeared in front of me going, and it zoomed up the surface for me somehow. And I could see it was a compacted bundle of fibers curling out of the cloud and back in like that. Imagine a ponytail of hair with about 200 to 300 fibers of hair in it, very, very tightly packed together in a perfect cylinder, and it's pure white, and you have it curling like that, almost like a rainbow. And as I'm looking at this close-up of this cloud surface, I realize the entire cloud is covered and made by a crisscrossing basket weave of these fiber bundles, if you like. And that's what it looks like close up. As I was looking at that close-up fiber bundle, the room that I was in prior to leaving and going into this abyss came back into view over the course of the next second, and I'm back in the room. I'm no longer looking at the cloud. I can use my eyes. My eyes have come back on, and they work. And I'm not blind, but I can't move. I couldn't physically move. I couldn't activate my body. It took 4 hours for me just to be able to stand up really slowly and go to bed, because it was about 1:30 by that point, after 4 hours of not being able to move from 9:30 when the event occurred. And the following morning I woke up, I was very, very, my body felt like a floaty sort of weight around me. It didn't feel like it used to. I felt very different. I thought, my God, what have I done? What have I done? I've done something. I don't know what I've done, but I need to figure out what it is, because
I need some medicine. Something's wrong with me. Something's happened.
Yeah, something has changed. I don't know what it is. And I immediately typed in Vishnu and cloud onto the Google search engine and found a reference to that cloud in a Hindu book.
Oh.
And it really shocked me. And I thought, oh my God, that's not what the cloud I saw last night, is it? Because it was talking about a cloud in terms of Vishnu, the God who creates things in the universe.
Right.
And I didn't think of it in those terms. And then I looked up the book of Revelations immediately after, because I remember reading about a white cloud in there before, but it was a bit vague. I thought, I wonder what that was. So I start reading Revelations, and it immediately starts talking about the cloud. And I got another shock. I thought, oh God, that's not what I've just experienced. Is this what they're talking about? I was thinking.
Right.
And I carried on reading. I thought, oh my God, it is. Oh shit. What have I done? I've seen this. What am I going to do now? I don't know what to do. And then I carried on reading, and I got to the 6th chapter where they start talking about the seals.
Right.
And I read the first 3 seals, and I thought, hang on a minute. I'm going to make a prediction to myself. When I get to the 6th or 7th seal, I'm going to read the experience I had last night. I guarantee it. So I turned to the page and I apprehensively read it, and I thought, oh my God, that is it. That's exactly what happened. It says the heavens receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island is removed from its place. I thought, oh Christ, that's exactly what happened. Oh my God, what does it mean? I had to reevaluate everything. I thought, what does this mean? What do I do now? I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. So I just carried on reading, and I read other things in the Bible. I thought, I understand what they're talking about. That's really weird. I never understood that before. Now I know exactly what I'm reading. That's really strange. How do I know that? Why do I know that? I don't get it. I don't understand. So I carried on like this, you see, and within a month, I thought, oh my God, I realized what's happened. I've become I'm illuminated. I thought, Jesus, this planet is full of demons. They're going to kill me. If I talk about this, they're going to kill me. There's no I won't last. It'll take about a month. They'll turn up at my house and kill me. I thought, what am I going to do? I don't know. I have to tell
you had those thoughts of fear at that point.
No, it wasn't fear. I didn't have any fear. I don't have any fear of death. It was that if I don't get a chance to talk about this, very few people have experienced this. This is a golden opportunity. This is a golden opportunity for planet Earth, for humanity. It really is. And I thought, I don't want that ruined by a bunch of dickheads who are going to try and kill me.
Right.
They're not going to do that. So I'm going to keep this quiet for a while. And I'm going to put very, very short, small videos out on my YouTube channel, which is what I did. I didn't appear on camera yet. It took about a year before I thought, you know what, no one said anything against me. So I'm gonna do something and just test the field and see what happens. So I did something, and a few people wrote some nasty comments, and I thought, here we go, here they come, here come the demons, to try and get rid of the person that's got all the answers. That's not going to happen. If I have to defend myself physically with a gun or a sword, I will do so. If these people want to try me, I will absolutely destroy them. I have a thing in me, a killer instinct. They will not take me out. They will not. I will destroy these people first. So I thought, hang on a minute, I need to do something about this, because these people are very dangerous. There are some very dangerous people on this planet, and they'll do anything to remove a person like you or like me. I knew that. So I thought, I'm going to set a trap. I'm going to set a trap for these people and find out who the serious ones are. So I ended up setting a trap, but it took 4 years to do that, because I was constantly waiting. I started making more and more videos. I got a few bad comments and bad responses, but I thought, overall, this is going okay. Nothing serious is happening. And then after about 4.5 years, I thought, you know what? Nothing's happened. No one's actually attacked me. But then nobody knows where I am. Why don't I give them the opportunity and see what happens? So I did. I had a LinkedIn profile at the time, and I put my place of work on my LinkedIn profile, which is a normal thing to do.
Right.
But because there are people who want to kill me, I knew they would see that, and I knew they'd take advantage of it. So I waited for them. And I predicted what would happen. I predicted that they would send a woman. She would be extremely attractive, and she would try and distract me. This was my prediction. That's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. So I knew I was on top of the situation, and I knew that I understood my enemy, because the point of doing this was to know the enemy. I want to know what they're like, what they think about, what they consider important, and why they consider that important. This sort of thing. They like authority. They don't want to lose their authority. Most people don't. Right. That kind of thing. I will destroy their authority. I will destroy them. All of them. I will destroy them. I know I will. This is a time on earth that everything is going to change. It really will, because I'm not here alone. And I didn't know that until 3 months after my illumination event. Because when I came home after work, 3 months after being illuminated, as I stepped into my house, something exploded out of my chest, just randomly and suddenly. And it turned out to be a sudden unpacking of a three-dimensional, what you might call hologram, or a picture that I was standing in the middle of. And I was now surrounded by thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And I'm physically standing in the doorway to my own place on my own. But as far as I can see all these people. There's thousands of them all around me. They're all angels. Every single one of these people is an angel. This is what they look like on earth right now. Therefore, they're all incarnated on earth as we speak. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of them. The earth has been flooded with angels. I didn't know that. This is when I found out, and I'm one of them. And there were two of the angels standing in front. They look like normal people, all these angels. Right. We're just regular looking people.
Right.
Yeah, if you do, you don't change the way you look.
No.
You don't grow physical wings. So that's a symbolism,
right,
for angels, and the halo is symbolism.
Right.
And so in front of me is a woman. She's about in her mid-30s, but her face is a complete blur. I can't see her face. I can see the shape of her head. I can see everything else crystal clear. Everybody else was crystal clear. Their face crystal clear. The man standing next to her, I'll remember him to my dying day. I know exactly what he looks like. If I encounter him, I'll know immediately it's him. Haven't encountered him yet. And this occurred in March 2015. This angel vision. The woman standing in front of me, I had never seen her before, but somehow I knew in that moment that she was my best friend. No idea why. I'm looking at her, thinking, this is my best friend. I don't understand. I've never seen this person before in my life. Don't know who they are. Don't recognize them. I don't know what's going on. What is this? These are angels on earth, I take it. Okay, fine. Does it matter? Shall I pursue them? Shall I look for them? I didn't need to, because talking to some people online, I realized, you're an incarnated angel. I can tell by the way you talk. It's different to other people. You're different. So I started encountering these people. I didn't recognize anyone as such. And I thought, I wonder if I'll see these two people that were standing in front of me. And my best friend, it's my best friend, apparently. Maybe I'll meet them in the future.
Right.
When I baited the attack by devil worshippers or whatever, useless people that there are on this planet who think they're clever. When I baited that attack, the person that came down to attack me was the woman standing in front of me in the hologram.
Wow.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that until 4 months later. So something happened. When she came by, you see, something very, very strange occurred. Very strange. This girl was loaded with magic. She came down to dump a hex. It's called a hex on me to prevent me from continuing my happiness. The point is to destroy your happiness. It didn't do that. I was on the warpath. I was going to kill this person, I'm afraid. I thought, I'm going to kill this person. You come down to my place of work and you drop magic on me and you run away. She literally ran away. She was moving so fast, I couldn't keep up with her. So she'd obviously come down just to do this. And because of that, because of the nature of what I am and what I'm doing and the fact that they wanted to do that, I would remove them from the planet. I would. Those people are demonic and I will remove them if I have to. If they get in my way, I will remove them. So there is no problem with that. God is on my side. There's no two ways about it. I'm here for a good reason. If they want to remove me for some whatever stupid childish reason they have, it won't work. It will not work. So I've been at war with this person who was supposed to be my best friend ever since. It's bizarre, you know. I'm just taken aback. I can't believe that my best friend, my best angel friend, is the person who is now my enemy. That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Obviously, she has been got at by goodness knows what, because the devil will try and get you, especially if you're an angel. You will be targeted by the devil and the demons. They will target you, and you have protection, divine protection anyway, but you need to know that up front. You need to be aware of that. You can't go into this naively.
So you're talking about what I would call, in a way, spiritual warfare that's taking place that that you are aware of, because simply is that you've been illuminated and you can see, you're thinking these people are such and such, and then what happens simply is they are not what they appear to be, or they are, but they've been somewhat taken over by an entity that actually maybe has destroyed them. Could you say that word?
I don't know, because I don't know them. I can't tell you exactly what's going on there.
We won't go there, that part. But I'm just saying simply is that this realm we're in, you're saying there is enormous spiritual warfare that's going on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So
it's to prevent you from.
Not a joke. That's what you're saying. Simply is that there's spiritual warfare going on all around us that is trying cleverly to seduce and deceive people.
Yep.
Anyway, anyhow.
Yep. And it's easy. It's easy on this planet. It's easy. Most people are susceptible. They fall for it in 2 seconds because they don't question anything or check anything. That's a real problem. The only reason this is done is because we're only here for one reason. This is what I found out and figured out afterwards. The only reason anyone comes to Earth is to make heaven for themselves.
Right.
That's it. You must have the physical component, because heaven is the unification of the physical and the spiritual components. It's the balance, the perfect balance of those two. It contains both at once. And because of that, you must come into an incarnation to generate it, because you can't generate it without engaging in something physical in order to generate it.
Well, would it be also you can't engage we're all spirits, so we know that. So, but in order we come here, we're in a physical realm in order to get back to where we were with God, so to speak, because this is testing ground. This is a ground where the metal, find out who you really are. What is your metal?
Kind of. I mean,
maybe I'm not saying. Go ahead.
There's a kind of misunderstanding about God and heaven. God is your true nature. God is your true self.
Right.
It's your spiritual self. It's the nature of eternity and being. That is God. There is only one spirit. We're all part of the same spirit. And it's not ideal. It's not ideal because nothing can change. So imagine being the abyss and having nothing but the abyss to look at. It's very boring. See,
Right.
we need something to engage our awareness with. We need
Right.
something to make us that we can be happy with. And so the idea is, well, we need an ideal home because we haven't got a home. In the abyss, it's just your awareness. You are simply the awareness of eternity. So the desire is to have a beautiful place to dwell, an ideal home. And the ideal home is what we call heaven. But the only way to make heaven, because it has a form and a shape, it must be made through what is physical. We are already spiritual. Therefore, we only need to engage with what's physical in order to make heaven, which is the balance of the two. It's the perfection of the two. It's like mixing oil and vinegar to make a nice vinaigrette, rather than just drinking vinegar by itself or oil. They're a bit unpalatable alone.
Right.
When you mix them, that it's better. There's a nice flavor there. You're pleased. It pleases you. In a similar sort of way, heaven is the most pleasing thing to us as spirits.
Okay.
See, and we're here to make it. That's what we're here to make. That's the one reason we are on earth in a physical life, is to make heaven. That's it. And that is what is prevented by all these demons, because they know damn well that we're here for that one reason, and they know how to fool us into thinking that we have no idea what we're doing. See, nobody knows that we're here to make heaven. That's why I wrote the book recently, Heaven is a Cloud, on purpose, because in there I lay it all out on the line as it is. I say, look, this is why we're here. This is the proof behind it. This is why I think like this. And here are the people in the ancient past to say exactly the same that I'm saying, just to back up what I'm saying, so you can see everybody who ascends says the same thing. We all agree with each other automatically. We all know the truth. The truth can't change. It's always the same that you find. Everyone finds the same truth. It never changes. So that's the war. That's what the war is about. The spiritual war is to prevent people making heaven and being happy for themselves, because demons love misery. They love spreading misery and concern and seriousness, and destroying joviality and enjoyment and all that sort of thing.
Right.
And they overly indulge. People associate the word enjoyment with indulgence, but that's not necessarily the case. A demon will indulge, and they'll say they enjoy their indulgence, but they become worse as a result of it. But then they excuse themselves. Demonic nature. I'm very familiar with demonic nature. It really does disgust me in every way, shape, and form, because it's not thinking. It's just self-gratification for the sake of it. There's no thought behind it. You see, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't produce anything useful. It just produces misery.
It does the opposite. It will drag you down, destroy you. That's why, for example, you hear a long time ago used to be that whiskey was called spirits, which they are spirits, because they destroy people. They destroy their families. One person who's an alcoholic can destroy, especially a man or woman, not the children, so to speak, but it will destroy the whole family unit completely. Will destroy them.
That's right.
And yet, that's what it's called, spirits. And yet, people indulge in that. You see, they get so much involved. It's nothing wrong with drinking an alcohol, beer, or something of that nature. But the problem simply is people indulge in it for some reason. A lot of it, I think, is simply they want to escape something. They can't deal with reality, whatever. And so it's an escape mechanism. But the problem is simply yes, you escape it for a short time, but then you come back to not only having a hangover, but then things are worse than they were before.
That's right.
That's right. So it doesn't make any sense. The same thing, part of it, I could say, with the issue of sex. It's the same thing, and overindulging in that. There are people who do things just to be, quote unquote, do that to somebody, and it's a very selfish thing, and not selfish in the right way, but in a selfish way it's done. And so that's why it's glorified today. You see it all over the place.
That's right.
And I'm not, that's right. In a relationship with a husband and wife, or a girlfriend and a boyfriend, that's a different situation. But it just goes counter. It's something that's beautiful, yet it's destroyed. It's countered.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a line in, I think it's on the Origins of the World, or a Gnostic text, where they say the archons defiled the body of Sophia. And that's simply referring to the physical nature is fundamentally demonic. It's fundamentally demonic. It's self-serving, nothing more. It's like somebody who's makes excuses. They are self-righteous. Yeah, self-righteousness is the purview of the devil.
Wow.
Self-righteous. Oh yeah, but I thought this and I think that, and therefore I'm right. I must be right because I say so. The self-righteous, utter nonsense. You know, no recognition of what's true objectively. Forget that. No, I'm right. I don't care what you say. I'm simply right. Really?
Very easy way, and that's an
We'll
easy way
see.
to, you know, it's part. As I would say, it's a form of escapism in some ways too.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't make
Drinking. You lose track of your emotions when you drink. You haven't got any
right,
emotions, or you're just overly happy and you love everyone. You know, you say, "Hey, I love you, man," you're at the pub because you're drunk.
right.
You wouldn't say that otherwise. You know, that sort of thing. It distorts people. Drink. I think it distorts things. But I can
So
have a drink, but it doesn't matter. You know, I don't get drunk.
right, but
You know?
you were talking about. So did you want to say any more about Angkor Wat? You know,
Not really. I mean, I think sacred sites like that are very powerful and they can have an effect on you. But I was thinking, how many people go through there every day and don't experience anything? You know, so it just
probably
kind of,
millions, probably millions. Not every
yeah,
day, but I mean, millions have gone there. I don't
yeah.
know if they're looking for that. They're probably looking at, and this is a question I want to ask you real quick before I forget.
Mm.
Um, was the is that where Angkor Wat, all this areas where they're at, was that where the old equator was at one time, or am I
I think
wrong?
so. I think so personally. Yeah, I think the Earth has changed somewhat in the last, I don't know how long, but
Right,
a lot of the ancient sites are built on a band around the Earth, and it's
right.
a
Is there?
band that's
Yes,
tilted to our current equator.
right. Because the current equator is basically half and half of the planet. Am I right? Half of the
Mm.
planet, the equator, and the upper
Yeah,
part and the lower part. That is what we
that's it.
call the northern part and the southern part.
That's
I would
it.
see it
Yeah.
basically being centralized around the whole band of the planet.
Yeah.
Uh, so,
We
but I gather simply is what Angkor Wat is that I've looked on someplace, saw something saying basically it was where what happened at Angkor Wat. There's enormous ley lines that come into that area. I mean, just
mm,
so that's why. And this is the other thing simply is I'll say this. I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but royalty at that time, maybe 1200, 1000, whenever this was, they built these temples.
mm,
Royalty chose to do this in order for the people to come to something of this nature if they're ready.
yeah, that's right.
That was their responsibility to the people was to have special places like that for their people to come and
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
ascend.
You naturally do that. You naturally you realize what it is, and you think, my God, this is what everyone's here for. Let me help them achieve it. Let me help them understand and realize this is what they're here for. So in that case, you'd build a temple dedicated to
Right.
the issue of samadhi, yeah, the sacred trance when you meet God, because you go into a trance when you look at that light. That's very unusual. A transcendental kind of trance, you could say. You know,
Right.
yeah. And when you
Some would say simply is that speculation would say that you must have been on drugs when you were there, such and such.
no, no,
uh,
not at all.
that would be what some people would say to dismiss it and say, well, they must have been on drugs, such and such, time died. I'm like,
Right, right. But if anyone's going to dismiss it, why? You see, you could say, well, maybe I didn't meet God, maybe I just imagined it. But then you see what happened 5 days later proved it.
right, right,
That's the proof. If nothing happened afterwards, I wouldn't even have bothered mentioning it to anyone. I'd just say, if somebody asked, I went to Angkor Wat, I say, yeah, I think I met God. All right, okay, fine, great. You know, that's all you say. You wouldn't say anything. But because of the illumination that occurred 5 days later, I know damn well I met God. You see, there's no question. There's no doubt in my mind at all. I know
so
exactly what happened.
I'm going to ask you a question because I think it's very you tell me when you got to go, such and such,
Mm,
because
mm,
um, there are those that I've communicated with some of this stuff, sharing with people, and um, we've talked about it. You've talked about it with Steve in the past, dealing with the
mm,
issue of the two keys that are involved. What has transpired with you and others who have been involved with what I would call Kundalini, that not necessarily bad, but the point simply is they they didn't get the two keys. Can you elaborate on that?
mm. Yeah, I notice looking around over the last few years at other people's experiences and what have you, that there's a general thought that meeting divinity or having a divine experience is enough, when it's not. It's nothing but an introduction. But a lot of people, because it's so powerful, they come away from it thinking, my God, that was it. That was the ultimate experience I'm ever going to have, you know, and they don't realize there's something else to do. So that it's basically what's called the first key to heaven. And there are two, specifically two. There's a gold and a silver key. The gold key refers to your heart and this loving samadhi, sacred trance, being with divinity, knowing God. All this thing, this is the first key to heaven. Meeting God is the first key to heaven, period. The effect that that's going to have on you, if you're so inclined, it seems, if you're so intellectually inclined to understand and want to understand things, because a lot of the people I've heard talking about meeting God don't seem to want to understand anything. They just found it amazing that they had a divine experience.
It's all about the experience. It wasn't about God.
Yeah, yeah. One girl, she was about 17. She was actually crying. She's on YouTube, and she can't stop crying. And that's what it does to you. You cry a lot after you meet God because it releases a lot of the physical problems, things that you were worried about and stressed about. You know,
Right.
you stop stressing it, and it literally just falls away from you. And as it does so, you cry your eyes out. You cry so much. I mean, I cried for 15 months after I met God.
Wow.
Yeah, every single day for about 5 or 10 minutes every day without
Was that
fail.
crying based upon the thankfulness and
Yeah,
grateful
yeah,
for what has
yeah,
happened to you? But
yeah. You just
it
cannot
wasn't
believe. You can't believe that it happened to you. You just can't believe it. It's just, oh my God, I just,
why me.
not so much why me, but oh my God,
Okay.
I am considered by God to be worthy of having some sort of companionship.
Right.
You know, we're not useless lowly worms that nobody wants to talk to. You see what I mean?
Right.
We are important. We do have something to say. We do have a
We have
relationship with
value.
God. Yeah, we
Okay.
do. And that is absolutely astounding. It just amazes you that's actually real in a world that constantly says there's no such thing as God, there's no such thing as spirituality. It's all bullshit. You know, stop listening to it.
Right.
Crack on with science and just stick with that. You'll be all right. You know, and they all die and they just regret it and they think, oh God, is that all I did? Jesus. Why didn't I
So,
think about something more?
what I'm trying to say simply is, um, it's not the Catholic Church simply shows this with a gold and silver key. Are there other illustrations of that also with those two keys or two things that are somewhere else in artwork or wherever, just showing that there's you just dealt with the one part, you didn't complete the whole deal here.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the Renaissance paintings are showing you the keys to heaven, and you don't realize it. For example, I can't remember who painted it, but it's in my recent book. It's a painting. There's four people in the painting. There's a child holding a candle which is lit, and there's an old man with a big white beard in front of him at a table, hewing. He's knocking. He's creating the Ten Commandments. This old man represents God, and the
Okay.
young boy represents the Son of God.
Son
And
of
there are
God, right.
two angels standing behind them. This scene represents what's called metaphysics, which is the fullness of your spiritual nature, which goes from zero to infinity, and it is singular. So zero and infinity are aspects of singular nature. So these three issues are the three issues, the three people in the painting that are not the little boy. The little boy represents Jesus Christ, and he's holding a light. He's in relationship to God. He's in. He can see he's in love with the old man. He loves the old man. So there are the two keys to heaven: the love for God, the direct nature of having a relationship, being in the same room, is the first key, and the second key is the candle flame. So in one painting, you've got an encapsulation of the nature of becoming divine, or coming to understand your own divine nature, because you are divine in nature fundamentally. You simply need to create heaven, basically, with your divine nature in conjunction with your true self. That's all we're doing here. You know, I didn't know that. Now I do. So this is what I tell people if they ask. You're here to make heaven, and there is no other reason. Everything else is superfluous. Obviously, do what you want, but recognize why there is a physical nature to your existence. It's part of your existence. It's a gift. Your life is a gift for you to make the greatest thing there is, which is heaven for yourself, and to have companionship rather than being alone in the abyss. Because as a singular spirit being singular, it's just one person. So when you return to the abyss, there is nobody else. It's just you. You are the single spirit in that case. You know, and you need to realize, my God, I'm on my own. I'm alone. Right. What about companionship? What about enjoyment? What about, what about meaning to my existence? Because it's a meaningless existence. It doesn't mean anything. But creating heaven and having companionship at this truthful, genuine level, that is meaningful. It fulfills you. It's fulfilling. That's the issue of being fulfilled, I think. Yeah.
So it's been 9 years since you've had that event in your life. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right.
In December of 2014. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Probably 9 years.
Yeah. 21st of December was the Ascension Day, which is winter solstice, funnily enough. It's bizarre timing.
So, so the Catholic Church is actually, in some of their symbols, is actually sharing truth.
Yeah. Yeah. They actually represent the truth. They literally represent the truth. It's just unfortunate that after all this time, they've misunderstood certain things. And there's an ideal example of that in towards the end of the Gospel of John. I think it's John 20:30. It's just a couple of lines with its own title that says the purpose of the Gospel of John, and it tells you that Jesus Christ is the Messiah, the Son of God, and it's an English sentence, but it uses a Hebrew word in the middle of the English sentence, which is misleading. I don't know whether it's purposefully misleading or not. Right. The word Messiah in English is anoint, and the word anoint can have a variety of endings. So you are anointed with the anointing of God. See, the ending on the word anoint is different depending on how you use it. Right. So when you realize that they've put an inappropriate Hebrew word in that sentence, whether on purpose or not, if you put the original English word back into the sentence, it makes perfect sense all of a sudden. Jesus Christ is the anointing of God. That is correct. Jesus Christ is what you are anointed with. The Son of God is the cloud of heaven that is produced by you and God. It's your child. You are its mother. You're his mother. You are its mother. God is its father. And as a mother, because the father is not physical, there was no physical act to create this child. Therefore, you were a virgin. Right. Wow. That's where that comes from. That's the origin of that concept. You are the virgin mother of Jesus Christ when you are an illuminate. Bizarre. Wow. That's where the symbolism comes from. That's why the Vatican is full of the Madonna and Child paintings. Correct. There's hundreds of them. Hundreds. Right. And Jesus on the cross, the crucifixion, is a symbol of the crucifixion to physical life. You are realizing physical life is not what you are. You are spiritual in nature. And that crucifixion represents your illumination when you actually manifest that reality and leave the physical world behind completely and realize you are not that. It was just a mean
that's I never thought about it that way, Phil. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see that, you being brought up in a Catholic church and me being brought up in a Protestant church. There is no Jesus on the cross
Mm.
in Protestant churches, because they see it simply as he rose, he arose from the dead, such and such. But the
Yeah.
point simply is that is not exactly the whole truth there, neither. You see,
Yeah.
it's amazing how these symbols are used in a way that mislead people or
Mm.
can actually lead people in the right
Mm.
way.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. If you have someone who tells you what they really mean and why they mean that and what's going on, you realize, oh, I see, this is what you're commemorating.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it makes sense. But
Yeah.
to Protestants, we would say, wait a minute. And this is, I'm just not trying to put Catholics down. I'm just saying simply, well, he arose. Why would he be on the cross? He
Hmm.
arose from he died on the cross. They're taking a literal interpretation, you see. Oh, and so he arose, so he's now resurrected, such and such. So there's no purpose for him to be on the cross, you see.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I get
And
the
reality
idea.
simply is that they missed, again, using symbols in a wrong way can also lead people astray too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the symbol is supposed to be what's the word? Uncorruptible. But
Right,
you can corrupt it by misinterpreting it. That's where the incorruption can
right.
occur. Yeah, and most people do that. Most people misinterpret these ancient symbols because they don't know about the ascension event. They don't know about the keys to heaven. They don't know what it feels like or the experience of it or what it really means or what the Son of God really is, and how that works and what it means to you as an individual. That it's now your home. The Son of God is now my home.
Right.
It's very unusual. How do you explain that to someone?
Well, how you do that? The only way you can is just share it, but also they have to experience themselves.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
in other words, to know how to drive a car, you don't just ride in it and be a pastor. You take the hold of the wheel and you drive it and know what the responsibility is, but also the joy of driving a car. You
There
see,
you go. There you go.
see,
That's it. That's it. Yeah, that's right.
see, and
I
so
can relate to that.
and
Yeah.
is I was going to say something else, and I'm uh, I want to say it because I've learned some things today. Also, I try to learn as much as I can. Um, what are there other? Do you know of others? Say about I got here. What was just a general question? What does Scripture have to say about illumination or ascension? Which I know that the word ascension has become a very popular word. Even illuminate is also a popular word, uh,
Mm.
and even maybe even a word enlighten, which are buzzwords, but in reality again deceive people in a wrong direction. Those words have energy and power in them, but what's happened is another force, a group of people have used those in order to deceive people also. Correct?
Mm. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of showing off on planet Earth. A lot of showing off.
Right.
People wanting you to adore them because apparently you're an enlightened person.
Or
There's
put on a
plenty of
pedestal.
there's too many people like that. There's just too much of it, and they don't do anything for anyone. They just take their money. They
Right.
make a living out of it, and you can fool people like that as well very easily. It's very
Well,
easy.
I would say one of the biggest red flags to me, and I've shared it a couple of times on my Facebook page, if
Mm.
someone's asking you for money to tell
Mhm.
you something, pretty much surely they're deceiving you because
Yeah,
they're doing it for money.
yeah, that's
That's
right.
they're doing their job, either giving you a reading from the tarot cards,
Hmm.
um, and I don't mean it badly, but I mean it simply they're giving you a reading tarot cards, and you're putting money out to get something from them, and they're going to tell you something that's
Hmm.
going to always be what I would call rosy in some ways to actually, because they want you to keep coming back because it's about making money,
Hmm.
profiting off other people.
Hmm.
So they're not going to give you some negative thinking, whatever they read from these particular cards. They're
Mm.
going to tell you something nice and juicy so you'll come back again.
Yeah, it can be like that. I mean, obviously there are intuitives who do good tarot card readings, let's say, but ultimately divination, I find divination a complete waste of time, a total waste of time. I just don't need it. It's
What do you mean by
unnecessary.
divination compared to reading cards?
I'm talking about someone who, even if they intuit, they read cards and they come out with a story that may or may not fit your life at the time. If it
Uh,
fits your life, it's simply a coincidence, because most of what they say afterwards doesn't go anywhere, and they haven't got good advice for you apart from try and be happy. Okay, well, I don't need you to tell me that, and I don't need you to tell you. They're never
that's
going to tell
also a
you.
generalization. That's not a specific. In other words,
Mm,
it's a generalization, so it fits all the 95% of the people out of the 100%, so to speak. Instead of
yeah,
getting specific detail and say, well, this is something such as might happen in your life. They don't
yeah,
do that. You
yeah.
see, they go
Don't
ahead.
forget, the people who do this make so much money they don't need to go to work.
Right.
You see, that's the incentive. Is they think, and actually they actually think they're doing God's work by reading stupid cards. I
Right.
find the whole thing utterly useless and futile and stupid, to the point stupid, I would call it. It's a waste of time. If you want to get on with your life, just get on with your life. You don't need divination to
Right.
help you. It doesn't help. It just puts you off, and it actually creates an expectation that is unrealistic as well. Totally unrealistic. And when
Yeah.
people have expectation, they get very disappointed.
The expectations are
Mm.
high, and
Yeah,
when they don't get there, that particular expectations, it's a completely bam. They go down and they become depressed.
yeah,
What did I do wrong here? What did I do wrong? What? I thought I was doing
yeah,
what right.
yeah.
It doesn't.
We all we need to do is encourage more cynicism when it comes to these things. If someone tells you a prediction that takes 20 minutes, I'll listen to it, fine, and I'll just, yeah, okay, whatever, and carry on with my life, because it's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. I've only ever heard one prediction in 43 years that ever came about, and I've heard tons of it. I give all these people so many chances to prove themselves, and 95% of them fall flat on their face. They haven't got anything to say. They're just making money out of people and making a living. There's nothing special about what they're doing. It doesn't help. I mean, none of them will tell you you're here to make heaven either. They'll tell you, oh, you're here to experience certain things. Well, what's the flipping point of that? There must be a point to
We're
experiencing
all
something.
experiencing something here. I mean, that's again a general statement. We're going to experience something. We're going to
For
experience.
what?
So what?
Yeah,
You're going to
for what? What for?
find a man, or you're going to find a woman. Well,
Yeah.
that's usually what happens anyway, such and such. I mean, those
Yeah.
again are general statements. They're not specifics. You see, well, he's going to be such and such.
Mm. Should I crash a plane that I'm on just because I should experience a plane crash? Yeah, I mean,
No,
what are they saying? What are they even talking about? We're not here to experience anything. You're here to make heaven.
right.
Period. Forget the bloody experiences. You can experience anything you like. It doesn't mean anything. If it advances you, then great. If it most experiences do nothing
They don't.
apart from get on your nerves. To be honest, a lot of the experiences I have, I just walk away from, because they're created by childish people who have an agenda. I have nothing to do with that. I just walk away. You're not advancing anything. You're just wasting everybody's time. It's just like, this is what people do. They waste their time, I feel. But that's my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think everyone's wasting their time on planet Earth, pursuing God knows what for
Yeah, we
nothing.
all waste our time on this planet. We do.
There's nothing wrong with pursuing your life for the sake of maintaining your life. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you do that to the point where you completely ignore why you're here in the first place, that is foolish.
So
That's
let
foolish.
me ask you a question here. I'm going to change this a little bit here.
Mm,
Maybe you've already explained some of it. I was going to ask you simply, who were the key people who have had an enormous help with their life? And I think you mentioned a couple of men,
yeah,
um,
there's four.
being,
There's four.
four of
The
them.
first, the first one was Bruce Lee.
Okay.
Bizarre. Bruce Lee. I couldn't believe it when he opened his mouth and spoke about philosophy. I was shocked. I thought this guy was just a violent martial artist in movies. No, no, no. This is a serious philosopher, and I learned a lot from him in the first place. A lot from him, and then I moved on to a guy called Stan Tenen, who is a bit of a genius, who founded the Meru Foundation in New York, and he's a Jew. who discovered the true the graphic nature behind the Hebrew alphabet. That the modern contemporary Hebrew alphabet has a graphical nature, and it's rooted in mathematics that very few people realize or know about. He taught me all about that, which has turned out to be very useful indeed. And he associated himself with Arthur Young, which through him I found out about Arthur Young and read up on Arthur. And so that was the third person. The fourth one was Walter Russell. So these four people, these four men, had the greatest influence on me in my mind. Those four. Yeah.
So there's no mention of Manny P. Hall. You didn't
No,
mention him.
I've read Manly P. Hall, but I just consider him to be a scholar.
Yeah, he's what I would call I think you used the word intellect or scholar.
He's an esoteric scholar. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He knew about stuff. He didn't actually do it. He just knew about it, I think.
He was basically what I would call regurgitating whatever that was taught, what he was taught or what he studied and regurgitated. Yeah. He never experienced anything what we're talking about.
I don't know, but I don't think so. You know about that.
I was not sensed that. I would assume that he would, unless it was in his later life. I know that he was basically what the story has said is he was killed, basically. He didn't die of natural death. These guys killed him.
Yeah.
I guess basically to extort and get money, whatever. But the point simply is that as far as I can tell through his life, I'm not saying he's not valuable to read, but I am saying that he's never had the ascension deal. And neither can we say, as far as I could tell, these other the men you mentioned, as far as I could tell.
That's right. That's correct. That's correct.
But that doesn't mean they're not. And which I would, excuse me. You come from a little bit different perspective than I do, because we've talked about it earlier, that you come from a very scientific mind structure framework, so to speak.
Yeah.
And in a way that basically you wanted to prove God through science, so to speak. If that's a good way of saying it, may not be.
Kind of. Yeah. I wanted to figure out truth through logic, basically, and science and math was the root to that. Yeah.
And we have a lot of people who, with that statement, we have a lot of people who poo-poo on what we call logical thinking these days. It's almost, I call it like the pendulum swings from one extreme to the other extreme. It never comes into what I would call in a stable position. So everything today is based upon emotions, as far as I can take it. And even though I've taken what they call some classes based upon postmodernism and modernism, how modernism and postmodernism has had enormous effect upon people's lives, that what they think is important really isn't that important, but yet it's how a stream of certain thinkers have had influence upon the rest of the humankind in the last 120 years, so to speak, in those years, because of the modern thinking and now the postmodern thinking, so to speak, and has had, I would say, a negative influence upon people lives.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And that's what I call a stream, so to speak. So, and scripture's also clear. Now, I come from that background, from historical, some philosophical perspectives, and also basically grounded in the church in a way which I've come to realize that what the church was teaching was not true, because their perspective of you is that you are nothing but a worm in God's eyes. So in other words, how can you make that statement about God? You don't know who God is, because you make that statement of saying God is some type of evil tyrant out there speaking it. And that is not the truth about who God is.
No,
God
not at all.
It's not some evil tyrant out there trying to mess up your world.
No, quite the opposite.
Yes.
Quite the opposite. Yeah.
So that whole inflection of thinking has had an impact upon me, and it's not just me, but most people in the Bible Belt is where I'm at, South, is that we're nothing but sinners, and it's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. There is good in us. There
Mm.
is good in us because um, we see that around us, but we poo-poo on that, and we say we
Mm.
almost dwell on the negative of how many bad things that mankind does, but yet they don't
Yeah.
see the good. You know,
Yeah.
you
It,
see,
that what you're talking about there is fully emphasized in the Gnostic texts. I don't know why some of them weren't included in the Bible, but they really do make a distinction between spiritual and physical natures. And the only reason we're thought of by certain sects as being sinners when we're born is because we're born into a physical body, and physical nature is not the same as spiritual. So it is a sin, or it is a state of ignorance.
right?
Sinning is action. Ignorant action is sinning.
Yes,
See, when
yeah, you make it based. I think you've made also being not conscious, unconsciousness is sin. Also, you made
yeah,
a statement of
yeah,
that nature, and that makes perfect sense because
yeah,
simply we people are reacting and doing it in unconscious state. They're not seeing the whole picture of what is going on around them.
yeah, that's right.
They're only seeing what I would call a telescope perspective or a microscope perspective in what's wrong with you and not seeing other things. I'm not saying
Yeah.
the other extreme going, well, you're great and everything. I'm not seeing that. You have to look at it in a balanced perspective to
Mm.
see that you do make mistakes here,
Yeah,
and you are capable of doing good things, and many people do good things for people, so to
mm.
speak. That's in a
Yeah,
general state.
yeah.
So
To add to that, a lot of people think that perfection, the idea of perfection, God, divine perfection, is in your performance, your performance in life. It has nothing to do with these things. It has nothing to do with your physicality whatsoever. That is a physical thing, your performance in life. How good you are at your job. That's a competitive attitude. There's
right,
no competition. There's no competition when spirit is concerned.
no,
Perfection is how honest you are with yourself. That's
correct,
it. That is
right,
perfection. To God, you being perfect means you are totally honest with yourself all the time. Therefore, you are now perfect in God's sight. That is God's perfection. That's how God sees perfection, not your performance. What if I cut your legs off? How are you going to run? And what are you going to say? Well, my performance has been deterred. I
right,
can't perform anymore. I can't be perfect. That's got
right.
nothing to do with perfection. Be
Interesting.
honest with yourself and you will be perfect. Doesn't matter how many limbs you've got or not. It means nothing. It's your
Right,
attitude. That's what
right,
perfection is.
right,
There's no question.
right,
So here are these things I've learned directly from God, that people misunderstand and get completely wrong. They actually think that performing with the ego in mind is the right way to be. And spiritual community thinks that you will manifest your favor from God with riches and all sorts of wonderful moments in your life. There'll never be a bad moment ever again. What a load of nonsense. It's utter nonsense. There is nothing but bad moments in life, I find, and it
yes.
never stops. So it's not a
It's
question
a very
of
childish way of looking at things.
yeah, yeah. God will reward you with abundance. Well, what kind of abundance are we talking about here? Because I've been rewarded with psychic abundance and
Right,
spiritual abundance, not money.
right.
I don't have any money. I don't care about such things. It doesn't mean anything to me. See,
Well, it's
so
very hollow. It's very hollow. All it does is allow
yeah,
you to buy stuff and
yeah.
whatever,
It
and
also
actually, go ahead,
sorry,
go
I
ahead.
beg your pardon. It just to say, it also gives the impression that if you're talking from some pokey little room online and you're saying great, profound things because God is with you, a lot of those spiritual people will switch you off because you're not sitting in a rich
Right,
environment to apparently prove your favor with God.
right.
This is
Not in
utter
a palace or a beautiful
nonsense.
home. Right.
It's utter
Just
nonsense. Yeah,
right.
it's garbage. It's new age garbage, and the new age is full of garbage ideas. They're pointless and useless. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
That's
well.
true. The new age is, I believe, is very been very clever type of a tool
Yeah.
that was used to. They knew that Christianity was dying out, and they brought in
Mm,
all the New Age perspective. And the
mm,
New Age perspective has gotten people off on another tangent, just like somewhat Christianity is.
mm,
Although in some ways Christianity had some essence of truth in it. It just wasn't being taught, so to speak. But the New Age is simply built on what I would call quicksand.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't go. It's got no depth to it.
It's no, there's no depth at all in it. It's just whatever I feel, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what I call
Exactly.
postmodernism. It's just
Uh,
simply if I want to do, if I feel like it's good for me or whatever, yet it's bad for everybody else, that type of thinking, that it's okay. It's okay.
mm,
I'm not only
mm.
doing, it's, it's like pulling your head out, hair out.
That's right.
Games, you're actually playing games with your spiritual walk by looking into New Age. You really are. It's actually far, to me, there was some essence of truth in Christianity there,
Mm,
but
mm.
with New Age, it's further away.
Yeah.
In
Oh,
my
yeah. Yeah. They would laugh
There
at
are
the
no
idea of heaven.
symbols there. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, they would just laugh at the idea that you're here to generate heaven. They say, "Well, no, it's nothing to do with that. We're here to find enjoyment and love each other and be good to ourselves and love ourselves." Okay, fine. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself. That's a divine understanding. But if you're going to ignore psychology and the depth of the human psyche in its shadow nature, which is a flipping monster waiting to come out of every person, you have to recognize that the human being has a subconscious, and it's extremely dangerous, the subconscious, if you don't develop it, if you don't delve into it and figure it out and bring it into the conscious mind and unify the conscious with the subconscious. A lot of these people turn into monsters after a while. They were New Age for years. All of a sudden, they've flipped, and now the police are after them. They're chasing them down, and they get arrested. And it turns out they were having sex with kids or something. And you think,
Right.
oh my God, what is wrong with you people? And you're supposed to be someone who is a role model in the New Age. Where is the role modeling? That's not a role model. That's someone who's bullshitting himself and everybody else. That they're always happy. That's a
Always
ridiculous
happy.
notion.
Right.
Yeah, I'm usually happy myself, but to say that you can't look at the world and feel compassion for the suffering, the pointless, needless suffering for nothing. I feel compassion for that. It irks me that I can do something about it, but nobody will listen to me. That is my irk. That is my thing. It hurts me.
Hurts you, right?
Yeah, I feel hurt by that, because I want to help and I can, and they don't know who I am. They don't think I have anything to say because they're too proud and what have you. It's just human nature. It just gets in the way of everything. It just stands in the way of what's right, I feel. It's the demonic thing again, self-righteous nonsense. Me. Forget yourself for 5 minutes and look at what there is objectively. Realize you're part of it and that you're here for a really good reason, that it's for your benefit, only for your benefit. Anyway.
I don't want to keep you, like I said.
I better go in a minute, yeah.
Yeah, because we were supposed to. I may have communicated with you somehow because I was going to meet with you at 8:00 this morning. So, which was 1:00 your time. I don't know if I misunderstood you or you misunderstood.
Our clocks went back 2 days ago, so there was an hour.
That's what it is. Oh my goodness! Again.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's that.
Can we just leave the clock alone?
Yeah.
Please. I was thinking about that, and then I thought, oh no, and I said, well, it's supposed to be next week. Next week they're going to change the time here in the United States. So it's going to be, they're going to turn the clock back again. And I'm like, can we just leave it the way it always supposed to be? Can we just stick with nature? Why do we have to come in here with this man-made idea? We have to change the clock, move it forward, move it back.
Yeah.
This is asinine to me.
That's right. Yeah.
Because again, it's getting away from nature. So that's the reason why. Okay. That's the reason why. Okay. I thought that in the back of my head. I said, wait a minute. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe they changed their time because I used to listen to shortwave radio, and I knew that shortwave affects Europe in a different way than us. It would be their clocks are set a certain way, and in America it would be different. I'm like, well, okay, it's just another way. I'm I was like, okay, I'm here at 8 o'clock, and it says, okay, and I'm not hearing from you, and I was like, okay, I'm getting exasperated because wanting to talk to you and share this with others.
Yeah.
And I told people, oh yes, we'll be on air at 8 o'clock in the morning today, and then some people said, well, this is fine. I was, well, I'm not going to be around such and such, and I'm like, okay, such and such, da da
Right.
da,
Yeah.
and so in other words, how many hours are you ahead of me now? You're 4 hours or 6 hours ahead of me?
I would have thought it would be 6 hours. I
Okay.
think.
All
I
right.
think.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
it was 5. Now it's 6. I think for now.
Okay. So I was like, okay, I'm up at early time here. I'm ready. And I'm like, okay, where's he at? Where's he at? And they're like, okay, sort of frantically. This is my
Yeah.
first time I've done anything like this in probably 5 or 6 years. I noticed also that everything has to change, which we already mentioned that, with either Zoom or everybody's got to change something around. It's like I was happy with the system before. I don't need it
Yeah.
any more complicated than it is now.
Yeah.
You see,
Now on YouTube, I access my channel on the left-hand side of the screen, but until 3 days ago, it was always on the right for the last 10 years. All of a sudden it's changed. It's over there now. There's no point to it. It's just to give people. They pay people in IT every day, so they have to have an excuse to be paid. So they have to change things.
right.
What a world we live in. We're now fixing things that aren't broke.
Right. That's it. There's nothing wrong with it. The train's going down the track. It's fine. It's on time. And yet we're going to change. We're going to change something about it. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, because those people over there need to be paid. So we need to change
Right.
something
Yeah.
here. We need to pay them every day, and they need a full-time job for the rest of their lives. So let's keep them busy. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you another question. Phil, are you still available for the rest of the week?
Yeah. I'm finishing at 11 a.m. every day this week, so I'm back in at 11:30, ready by 12 noon to go and do whatever every day.
Okay.
So 12 noon English GMT time onwards, I'm free.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to try? I work tomorrow, but you want to try Wednesday?
Yeah. Cool. Sure. Okay.
Thought about asking a question, a couple of questions. You can stew about them. One would be simply what is metaphysics?
Mm-hmm.
And there are other questions such as what is karma? I think that's another issue that needs to be dealt with because I think people are confused about that. I think
very confused about that.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that karma is just another way of saying consequence.
Right.
If we use the word consequence instead, we realize, I see, it's the consequences of what we put into action. So the consequence is this. And I didn't think of that. So this person now thinks I was trying to do that, and now they're gonna punch me or whatever. These are all consequences of not communicating properly, let's say, or not dealing with things properly, or dealing with things properly. You get a different consequence.
Right.
It's just karma is nothing but consequences.
There are other questions, but that's just some too there. This popped up. I wrote down here. There's some other questions I want to ask, but
metaphysics is quite easy. It's literally the fullness of your spiritual nature. But as I mentioned before, you are a singular entity, and your spiritual range goes from 0 to infinity. So 1, 0, and infinity are concepts of metaphysics. Metaphysics is these concepts, and linking with all three is the Son of God. The Son of God literally links to the singular nature because there's only one Son of God, infinity because he lives in the abyss, and 0 because it's a zero-dimensional issue.
Right.
Singular nature is zero-dimensional by default.
It's also timeless, correct?
Yeah, timeless and eternal. Yeah, both. Yeah, by default.
In reality, timelessness is eternal too.
Yes, that's right.
Because it's not based upon time. It's not
that's
linear.
Right. That's right, and it never changes.
Never will. Right.
Yeah, because our nature is that, and we never change. If we want a different situation from just staring into the black abyss all the time, we need to go through something that has changed fundamentally as its nature, which is physical nature, which is why we come into physical nature to make heaven, which is a better situation than just sitting in the abyss.
Yeah, I remember you were saying simply is that in one of your videos with, I think with Steve, uh, you basically said, I'm here in the abyss, and basically I don't want to be here the rest of my life,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and that you would like to have companionship. That's one of the things I think you would like to have
Mm,
and be able, so I don't want to be stuck here. The other thing I say, uh, what took place, with reiterating something you said earlier, was about all this took place in your head. Meaning simply is that's where the light was. That's all, because you said the shutters closed on your
mm,
eyes.
mm.
So how could you see? And I think you mentioned this with Steve. How could you see anything if your eyes were shuttered? In other words, you couldn't see out of your eyes, yet you were seeing things. That had to be within your own head.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's a
That's an
fascinating.
interesting thing to think about.
Yeah,
Is that would be your third eye.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, lit up. That's right. You're
yeah,
looking at the cloud is the light from your own pineal gland. Yeah, it's
right,
like you're in your own head, but you're free
right,
from your body. Yeah, you
right,
separate from the body. Yeah,
correct. Yeah,
yeah, amazing stuff.
yeah.
Really amazing. I didn't know any of this was real years ago. I'm absolutely flabbergasted myself. I can't believe we're talking about this. It's incredible.
Well, I'm
Right.
appreciative of you just simply as talking about these things, because simply is that you give a framework for others to see how what has happened in your life, and then where
Mm,
you're at 9 years later
mm,
as you are sharing. And I mentioned earlier, but your books also are. We'll talk about that. But what I'm saying simply is to do with
mm,
you're sharing what I would call what is taking place in your life to
mm.
others, that those who have ears to hear, you see.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right. That's right.
and
Yeah.
it seems to be your calling,
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, definitely.
right?
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to carry on doing, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was going to say something else. What is your, my mind just went blank. What is your YouTube channel? Is it simply Phil Langdon? Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. It's just Phil Langdon. It's just my name. Yeah. Phil
You,
Langdon. That's it.
and you've done your own videos also sharing what has happened to you, not only through Steve, but
Yeah.
also you've done your own videos also.
Yeah. There's plenty there for people to get their teeth into if they want to have a look. Yeah. And there's plenty of choice as well. Different subject issues in the same ballpark. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we'll try to do is
Mm.
I'll meet. So if your hour, okay, so it's 2 o'clock. Okay, it's what time is it really there now? Tell me.
It's now 3:45.
Quarter to
So
four.
3:45.
Okay. So actually here it's 11:45. So it's 4 hours difference instead of 5.
Oh, so we've gone
That's
that way, not that way.
right. So that's why I'm asking you, so there won't be another mistake. So
Yeah,
you're 4 hours ahead of me now.
right.
Okay, that's what I
And
need to know because I don't.
yeah,
So
yeah, we were
so if
5
I do
hours apart
that,
before.
so if I meet with you, my clock time being 9 o'clock, it would be your clock being 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Mm.
And that's what I'll do Wednesday at the same time. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, no
Okay.
problem. Yeah, great.
Anything else you want to share, Phil?
No, there are free downloads on my channel. If you want to
Correct.
get your teeth into some of this stuff, there's plenty of free downloads on the channel. In most of the videos, you'll find free downloads of books I've written. There's only a handful, there's not that many, and they're very similar. So you only need to download one that piques your interest, and have a look at that, and it should be enough, as it were.
Or you do a book on Ascension Handbook. You do a book on Zaptepi. You have done
Yeah,
a book on the book of Revelation,
yeah.
uh, and you've done a book on
No,
Not
Gnostic texts. Yeah,
Gnostics.
I've done two new books. One of them is focused on the cloud of heaven and all the examples that I can back up that with. And the other book is a similar first three chapters, but the rest of it is all the Gnostic texts that I've interpreted, with the interpretation in the text itself, so you can see exactly what they're talking about in these Gnostic texts, because they bamboozle most people, these texts. People have no idea what they're talking about.
No, because it's written in a different, so to speak, language, so to speak, and yeah, I would
Yeah.
say I would agree. I have struggles with that too.
Yeah, it's a totally different mode to the biblical language. Yeah, it's a different mode.
Right.
Yeah, it's much more poetic and convoluted. Yeah.
So you didn't have any problem with anything else when I sent you the link. It worked. Okay. So the only problem was the time difference. That's where.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was up at 8 o'clock and you wasn't there. So, and I'm thinking.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I probably wasn't even home yet. Yeah. I think.
No, you wasn't home. I gathered that.
Anyway. Okay.
Okay, Phil. I'll let you be. I
Thank you.
appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing your time.
Pleasure.
I appreciate you being open. I appreciate your honesty as you share these things that are come from your life. It takes a lot of guts in what you're doing, and a lot of love for others to share this. And I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you asking in the first place, to be honest. So I appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. You have a good day. Okay. Thank you for
too.
your time.
Yeah. Take care. Thanks you, Brant, and take care, everyone.
Okay.
See you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.